Welcome to Audio Studio. Take a moment to arrive. There's nowhere else you need to be right now. Nothing you need to do. This is a space for slowing down, for softening your breath, for letting go of the weight you have been carrying. At Audio Studio, we believe that growth does not have to feel rushed, and change does not have to feel hard. True transformation happens quietly, through small moments of awareness, gentle habits, and kindness toward yourself. As you listen, allow your body to relax. Allow your breath to deepen. If your mind wanders, that is okay. Simply return to the sound of the voice, to the rhythm of your breathing, to this moment. This audiobook is here to support you in finding calm within the movement of life, to remind you that peace is not something you chase, it is something you remember. So settle in, get comfortable, and let the story carry you. The quiet place within a story about living a stress-free life. There was a season in Maya's life when everything felt loud. Not loud with sound, but loud with thoughts that never seemed to stop. Responsibilities stacking on top of each other, expectations pulling her in different directions, and the quiet pressure to hold everything together without letting anything fall apart. And every morning she woke up already tired, her alarm ringing while her mind was already running through what needed to be done, what she might forget, what could go wrong. And she told herself this was normal, this was adulthood, this was just life. One afternoon, after a day that felt heavier than usual, Maya kept walking instead of turning toward home and found herself sitting on a warm park bench, the sun resting on her skin, leaves moving gently above her, laughter somewhere far away, and for the first time all day, nothing was asking anything from her. And at first her mind resisted the quiet, filling the space with worries and replayed conversations until she noticed her breath, shallow and tight in her chest, and without thinking, she placed a hand on her stomach, inhaled slowly, and let the breath fall out of her body, and something softened. That moment did not change her life, but it changed how she entered it, because she realized stress was not an enemy, but a signal. And over the next days, she began noticing it without fighting it, noticing her jaw clench while checking her phone, noticing her shoulders rise during meetings, noticing her thoughts race ahead of the moment. And each time, she quietly said to herself, "I see you." And each time, the tension eased just a little. One evening in her kitchen, moving too fast and thinking too far ahead, she remembered the bench and slowed down, chopping vegetables gently, listening to the sound of the knife, noticing color and warmth, breathing instead of rushing. And dinner tasted better, not because the recipe changed, but because she was present for it. And she began to understand that stress grows when we live in the past or the future, while peace lives right here. Maya practiced coming back again and again, back to her breath, back to her body, back to what was actually happening. And when she felt overwhelmed, she stopped asking how to fix everything and started asking what one small thing she could soften right now, sometimes unclenching her hands, sometimes stepping outside for air, sometimes choosing not to respond immediately, learning that urgency is often an illusion. One morning, she woke up late and felt the familiar rush rise in her chest. But instead of feeding it, she paused, sat on the edge of her bed, breathed slowly in and even slower out, reminding herself that calm would help her more than panic. And she moved through the morning with steadiness instead of frenzy, and things still happened, but they did not overwhelm her. As weeks passed, Maya protected her energy in quiet ways, letting silence exist in the car, walking without headphones, going to bed earlier as an act of kindness. And she began noticing how much stress had come from saying yes when her body wanted to say no, from carrying things that were never hers to carry. And one afternoon, when she declined an invitation she did not have energy for, her chest tightened briefly and then relaxed, and nothing bad happened. And she learned that peace often requires choosing yourself. Her body began to trust her, her nervous system no longer on constant alert, her thoughts slowing, her laughter coming more easily. And though life was still full and sometimes messy, stress no longer ran the show. And one evening she returned to the same park bench, the lights softer now, the air cooler, and she sat there smiling, not because life was perfect, but because she had learned how to meet it differently. She understood then that a stress-free life is not created by removing challenges, but by responding with presence, breath, and compassion. And as you listen now, you are invited to do the same, to breathe slowly, to notice your body, to let this moment be enough, knowing that peace is not somewhere else. It is already within you, waiting to be remembered. The days continued. Not perfectly, not without challenge, but with a new rhythm that Maya could feel in her body before she could explain it with words. A rhythm that moved a little slower, a little softer, a little more in tune with what was real instead of what was expected. She began noticing how stress often arrived, disguised as urgency, how it whispered that everything needed to happen now, that there was no time to pause, no room to rest, no space to soften. And she learned to question that voice gently, asking herself if this moment truly required speed or if it simply required attention. Sometimes she would pause in the middle of the day, right where she was, standing in her kitchen, sitting at her desk, waiting at a stoplight, and she would take one slow breath in and one long breath out, reminding her body that nothing was chasing her, that she was safe right here, and that brief pause often changed the entire tone of the next hour. She noticed too how stress lived not just in her thoughts, but in her muscles, in the way she held her shoulders near her ears, in the way her stomach stayed tight even when she was resting. And she began offering her body small moments of release, rolling her shoulders gently, stretching her neck, unclenching her jaw. Movements so subtle no one else would notice, yet powerful enough to signal care. As her awareness grew, Maya began to see patterns she had never questioned before. Patterns of overgiving, over-explaining, over-functioning. And she realized how much of her stress had come from believing she needed to earn rest instead of allowing it, believing she needed to prove her worth through exhaustion. One afternoon, feeling particularly drained, she chose to rest without justification, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, watching the light shift through the window. And although guilt tried to rise, she breathed through it, letting the discomfort pass, and discovered that rest did not make her weaker or less capable. It made her clearer. This clarity began to affect her relationships as well, because when she was less rushed internally, she listened more fully, spoke more honestly, and allowed pauses in conversations without rushing to fill them. And she noticed how this created space for others to soften too. There were moments when old habits returned. Days when she felt overwhelmed again, when her thoughts raced and her body tightened. And instead of judging herself, she met those moments with compassion, understanding that healing is not linear, that learning to live with less stress is a practice, not a destination. On those days, she returned to the simplest tools: breath, awareness, presence, grounding herself in what she could feel, the weight of her feet on the floor, the rhythm of her breath, the sound of the room around her, and these anchors brought her back again and again. She began ending her days differently too, not collapsing into bed exhausted, but creating small rituals of closure, dimming the lights, putting her phone away earlier, letting the day settle instead of carrying it into sleep. And her dreams grew deeper, her mornings gentler. As time passed, Maya realized that a stress-free life was not about removing responsibility or avoiding effort. It was about moving through responsibility with steadiness, about meeting effort with care, about allowing life to be full without letting it be overwhelming. She noticed how often she had rushed through moments she would never get back. And now she allowed herself to linger in laughter, in quiet mornings, in simple joys like walking outside or feeling warm water on her hands. And these moments accumulated into a life that felt more spacious. One evening, sitting quietly as the sun set, Maya reflected on how little had changed externally and how much had shifted internally. And she understood that peace is not something added to life. It is something revealed when resistance softens. And as you listen to this story, you may notice your own body responding, your breath slowing, your thoughts settling, not because you are trying to relax, but because you are being invited to stop pushing against yourself, to Allow this moment to be exactly as it is. You may notice places in your body that are holding tension, places that are asking for kindness, and you do not need to fix them. Only notice them. Only offer presence. Because awareness itself is healing. Life will continue to bring challenges, unexpected turns, moments of stress and uncertainty. But you are learning, just as Maya did, that you can meet these moments with steadiness, that you can pause, breathe, and choose a softer response. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are learning how to live from a place of calm within the movement of life. And this calm is not fragile. It does not disappear when things get busy. It lives beneath the noise, waiting for you to return. So stay here for a moment longer, breathing slowly, letting the words wash over you, allowing your body to rest in the knowing that peace is not something you must chase. It is something you remember. And as this story continues, it will continue to guide you back, again and again, to the quiet place within you that has always been there. As Maya's life grew quieter on the inside, she began to notice something subtle but powerful. Real change was not coming from big decisions or dramatic shifts. It was coming from the smallest repeated actions, the ones she barely noticed at first, the ones that felt almost too simple to matter. She used to believe that change required motivation, that she needed to feel inspired before she could live differently. But she started to see that waiting for motivation kept her stuck because motivation came and went while her days continued regardless. One morning, instead of trying to redesign her entire routine, she made one tiny adjustment. She placed her walking shoes by the door before going to bed. Nothing dramatic, nothing symbolic, just visible. And the next morning when she saw them, she put them on without thinking and stepped outside for 5 quiet minutes. And that was enough. She did not call it a habit. She did not set a goal. She simply allowed the environment to guide her. Over time, Maya realized how much her surroundings shaped her stress without her noticing. Clutter made her feel rushed. Noise made her tense. Constant notifications pulled her mind in too many directions, so she began changing her environment gently, putting her phone in another room while sleeping, keeping her desk simple, choosing calm lighting in the evenings. And these changes made peace easier instead of something she had to force. She learned that when something feels hard, it is often because the system is working against you, not because you lack discipline. On days when stress felt heavier, Maya stopped asking why she could not stick to good habits and started asking how she could make them smaller, easier, and more obvious. And instead of committing to long meditation sessions, she began taking 3 conscious breaths before opening her laptop. Instead of promising herself an hour of rest, she sat down for 2 minutes without distraction, and these moments stacked quietly, building a new rhythm. She noticed how stress often came from trying to change everything at once, from expecting overnight transformation, and she began trusting the power of accumulation, the understanding that tiny improvements, repeated consistently, reshape life in ways force never could. There was a shift in how she spoke to herself too. Instead of saying, "I need to stop being stressed," she began saying, "I am someone who responds calmly." And this identity settled into her body slowly, not as an affirmation she repeated, but as a truth she practiced, one small action at a time. Each calm breath reinforced it. Each gentle pause confirmed it. Each boundary honored it. When Maya felt tempted to fall back into old patterns of rushing or overworking, she reminded herself that habits are not about perfection. They are about direction. And missing a day did not erase progress because consistency mattered more than intensity. She learned to reset without shame. If she scrolled too long, she noticed and put the phone down. If she skipped a walk, she returned the next day. If stress crept back in, she met it with curiosity instead of frustration. This compassion kept her nervous system calm because shame had always made stress louder, while kindness made change sustainable. One evening, Maya reflected on how different life felt. Not easier, but steadier. And she realized that stress no longer defined her days because her habits now supported calm instead of chaos, and none of them were impressive on their own, but together they shaped a life that felt spacious. She understood then that a stress-free life is not built by dramatic breakthroughs, but by tiny choices, repeated daily. Choices that align with who you are becoming, choices that feel gentle enough to maintain, even on hard days. And as you listen now, you may begin to notice how small changes could soften your own life. Not tomorrow, not someday, but right here, right now, because you do not need to overhaul your life to feel calmer. You only need to take one small step in the direction of peace. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders drop. Let this moment count, because the quiet place within you is built the same way. Habits are built gently, patiently, one small return at a time. As the days continued to unfold, Maya stopped measuring her life by how much she accomplished and began noticing how it felt to move through it. And what she noticed was not perfection, but presence. Not constant calm, but a growing steadiness that stayed even when things felt uncertain. The habits she had built were quiet now, so woven into her days that they no longer felt like practices. They were simply how she lived, a breath before responding, a pause before rushing, a gentle return when she drifted too far ahead of herself, and stress still visited from time to time, but it no longer stayed. She understood something deeply now, that calm is not fragile. It does not disappear the moment life becomes busy. It lives beneath the noise, accessible with a single breath, a single pause, a single small choice. Some evenings, Maya would sit by the window as the light faded, noticing how the world softened at dusk, how the pace naturally slowed, and she allowed herself to slow with it, no longer fighting the rhythm of the day, no longer asking more of herself than was necessary. She realized that the stress she once carried had not come from life itself, but from the way she resisted it, rushed through it, demanded more from herself than she would ever demand from someone she loved, and now she offered herself that same kindness. There were still moments when old patterns whispered, urging her to hurry, to prove, to push. And when that happened, she did not argue with them. She simply noticed, breathed, and chose again, trusting that every small return mattered. This trust changed everything. She trusted that missing a day did not erase progress. She trusted that rest did not need to be earned. She trusted that small habits, repeated gently, were enough. And perhaps most importantly, she trusted herself. As the seasons changed, Maya felt rooted in a way she never had before. Not because her life was stable or predictable, but because she was. And when challenges came, she met them with a steadiness that surprised her, responding instead of reacting, pausing instead of panicking, breathing instead of bracing. One quiet night, she returned once more to the park bench where it had all begun. The same place, yet everything felt different. The air cooler, the sky darker, the world quieter, and she sat there breathing, feeling the weight of her body supported, feeling the simple truth that she was safe in this moment. She smiled, not because life was perfect, but because she knew how to meet it now. And as this story gently draws to a close, you are invited to notice what has shifted within you while listening. Perhaps your breath has slowed. Perhaps your body feels heavier and more relaxed. Perhaps your thoughts have softened, or perhaps nothing feels different at all. And that is okay too. There is no goal here, no finish line to cross, no lesson to master, only an invitation. An invitation to live gently. An invitation to build calm the same way Maya did, not through force, but through tiny choices repeated with care. An invitation to trust that peace grows quietly, almost invisibly, when you stop rushing past yourself. So take one last slow breath in and let it go fully. Feel the surface beneath you. Feel the room around you. Feel this moment holding you without asking anything in return. You do not need to remember every word of this story. You do not need to do anything differently tomorrow. Even one small pause is enough, because the quiet place within you does not need to be created. It has always been there, waiting patiently ready whenever you return. And you can return at any moment, with a breath, with a pause, with kindness. Let the rest come now. Let the story fade softly. Let yourself be exactly where you are. You have reached the end of this story, but the calm you feel does not end here. Take a slow breath in and let it go gently. Notice your body. Notice the quiet that may be present now. Notice how little is being asked of you in this moment. At Audio Studio, we invite you to carry this sense of ease into your day or into your rest, knowing that even one small pause can change how life feels. You do not need to remember everything you heard. You do not need to take action right away. The listening itself was enough. If you are resting, allow yourself to drift. If you are continuing your day, move slowly, bringing this calm with you. Thank you for spending this time with Audio Studio. May you return to this quiet place within you whenever you need it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself.